It's crazy because
Oh, shit.
you have to like get it out, but once it gets out, like you put it on at night and you wake up and it's still there in the morning.
Okay, not
It's
like Laneige.
wild. No,
Laneige is a piece of shit.
and you know what? Thank you for bringing that up, actually, because I feel like 3 years ago it was good, and now it's not anymore.
I think I was convinced that it was good, just because I wanted it to be good. Because everybody else was
You
telling me it was. It's just not. I think it makes your lips more dry.
Yeah.
And then I'm like sitting there in the morning, I'm like, my lips are cracking open. Yeah, it's not good.
You actually we're just gonna keep this in. You actually bring up such a good point because maybe I was gaslighting myself this whole time.
Honestly,
You know what I mean?
yeah, you're just trying to justify the price of it because you think in that little like pot it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Everyone's using it. But yeah, I'm off the Laneige train. At least that lip balm. I will say, I do like the color it gives though. I use it for the color. I don't use it for, the
Yeah.
purpose.
I have it currently, and I normally don't have it, and I put it on last night, and the only
Mhm.
reason I've realized that it's just not as good as again, maybe I thought it once was, or maybe I tricked myself into it once was because of the stuff that I gave you, but I'm kinda out of that. Like, once the tube is full and you put it on, like, I can shower and it's not off my lips.
Mhm.
It's
Oh, it's
crazy.
waterproof.
Basically.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna see what I can do today with these lips.
The past, like, 5 minutes has been me, giving ad reads to products for Jenna that I'm not being paid for. We're, like, drinking spritz, and I'm like, "No, it's really, really good. You should try blood orange. It's my favorite." I opened up a grapefruit. I was like, "I'll have the grapefruit. You can try this." We have other stuff on the table. I'm like, really I'm a professional ad reader.
Yeah, we should have been rolling that whole time because ad reads are kind of hard. That was very seamless for you. But
That is so true.
starting it off with Laneige. Anyways, thank you for
Yeah.
having me here. I'm so happy to have you in Austin.
Yes.
I'm acting like this is my podcast. No,
like,
you
love
do
it.
the intro.
I love it. I'm like, wait, please take it away. Less so for me. No, I'm really excited. We are going to be eventually, we'll be recording for Jenna's podcast. There were some technical difficulties today.
Yeah.
So we got lunch instead. So sorry,
Classic.
guys.
Well, so I have been trying so hard to get my office together, and like being in here now, I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, well, now I recognize all the things I did wrong because my lighting is shit compared to this, and you guys have these cool cameras and stuff. So
This is new.
yeah, I'm trying to get it to be like super good before I start recording my first episode because it's all gonna come out starting in February, and I just want it to be like starting on a good note. I don't want to have to wait for people to be like, okay, is it progressively gonna get
Yeah.
better or what? So. Yeah. So
You don't want to take them on the journey. You want to start at a certain
Right.
place.
Right,
Got it.
exactly. I think I've taken them on the journey too long at this point that a lot of my followers are like, okay, we get it. Like, stop trolling us. Let's just see the finished product.
That's actually a story of my life. I was gonna joke because earlier I was like, "Is there anything you like don't want to talk about?" And then he was like, "No, fine." I was like, "Great, politics, religion," and then I was like, "Interior design podcast."
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if we do talk about interior design, you kind of have to give like a trigger warning because it makes people like it pisses a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And I actually used to get like very offended by it. They'd be like, that looks so bad. And then I'd be defensive. I'd be like, well, I like it. So like,
Yeah.
fuck off. But then I started recently playing into it and just like trolling them back. And now I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I'm like,
That is fine. No, I realized that. I'm like, you also, what people don't realize is like you're getting really good engagement from it because people are mad. Like if you have a video, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like this is like the cycle of getting hate comments, right? You have something, people get really angry about it, and there's all these comments, and at first you're offended. And as time goes on, it's like, it kind of becomes a narrative, and like you have to like
Yeah.
feed into the narrative.
if you lean into it, you get less offended. And that's what I've kind of
Yes.
realized. So like, for example, yesterday, recently I was trying to paint a wall in my office and somebody commented and they're like, I don't get it. Like, is this a joke? Because why else would you be doing this? And I, I responded, normally I'd be like, no, I'm actually trying. But no, I responded yesterday. I was like, why would I ever troll you?
Yes, you got it.
So I think it's been kind of fun. But no, to begin with, I never was intentionally trolling anyone. And even to this point, I don't.
You're
I-
just leaning into it.
Yeah, I'm just leaning into it. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle and it makes me just as irritated. But part of the reason why I haven't like hired anyone to actually paint on my wall or like actually design anything professionally is because I think there is kind of some fun to me doing it on my own. And one day I'm going to look back at this. Hopefully one day I'll have like a professional, crazy office like this. And I can look back and be like, remember that one time where I fucked up that office
Yeah.
in downtown Austin, that little space, It'll be a good
also-
story.
I walked into the office today, and the first thing I said, I don't even think I said hi yet. I was like, this office looks fine. Like, you were so hard on yourself. Like, it actually, I mean, I know you like changed the wall since the spray paint.
Yeah.
We got a little like pin moment there. It actually looks really good.
Thank you.
And it really is like, I love you so much clap. Like, obviously, I know that it's for the Austin sign, but like, I'm just gonna pretend.
No, it was specifically for you, Kenzie. I actually designed it last night. I'm going to paint over it later today.
For the next guest.
Yeah. Can you imagine if I just did a new mural for every single guest?
Literally. I know. When I saw it or when you tagged me that, I was like, this is actually like too perfect.
Yeah.
It looks cute though.
It's really good little crossover for us. For sure.
No, it is great. I wanted to talk with you today about being a multifaceted woman because you have so many different interests.
Yeah. So, oh my God, so many different interests. Where do we start?
You're like, yeah, trigger warning.
Yeah.
Again. Well, I feel like you've just been very open on the internet about feeling lost and not knowing where you're at career-wise. And I feel like I know I can relate to that and I feel that all the time. And I like how you, instead of just having different interests, I like how you actually like do them. You know, I feel like that sounds stupid, but I feel like people are like, oh, I like this. But like, if you want to be like a Pilates instructor, you actually are like taking initiative. Initiative, that's the term.
Yeah, I will say with Pilates specifically, especially with the holiday coming, the holiday just passed, it was really difficult to like get in all the classes that I needed in order to start the training. So I think I seriously still have 1 or 2 classes left before. That has been kind of something I've like put on the back burner. I don't know. But that is the thing is like, I understand how it could be annoying to followers, how it's like, well, you said you're going to be a Pilates instructor. And so for backstory, if anyone is joining this podcast, you don't know who I am. I have been doing social media for the past like year and a half full time. And I think earlier this year, I just started having this feeling of being like, it doesn't really feel like it's me necessarily. I think it became me and then I didn't know who I was outside of it. And so I was going through this phase. And I mean, it's not even really a phase. It's just like a thing in life where I just don't really know what I want to do. And it's like you have all these ideas, but then they're all in all these different corners. So it's like I love doing makeup and I love doing events and I love going to workout classes and I love posting on the internet. And it's like almost we're forced to follow one path. And I feel like life shouldn't be like that. And that's part of the reason why Fun on Weekdays is so like relatable to my life is because I think I have that opportunity after work to go and explore these different interests. But so I started sharing that online and how I was like, I don't know if I want to do social media full time anymore. I started kind of getting into the Pilates and bridal thing. And then over like a month and a half of pursuing that, I started just getting inspiration back. And what I think it was taking a step away from social media so much and being able to look at it with a clearer lens and just like have a moment of gratitude that I feel like in the moment, everything is moving so fast. You're overwhelmed. You don't get a second to just stop and kind of look at everything you've accomplished. And so I had that moment to reflect and just surrounding myself with good people in my management. I had a moment where I was like, okay, Pilates and bridal will always be there, but like, will my community? I don't necessarily know that. So I think I should invest all of my time and energy and money into what I have currently. And if it doesn't work out, then at least I know that. And 5-10 years from now, if social media dies off and I'm not doing anything with it, then I at least know what happened. Whereas I have the opportunity to follow those other paths in the next coming years. And so I'm still kind of following those paths as I do this. But yeah, just a struggle, you know?
I also want to defend you though when you said I get it can be annoying to people. Like I bring that up, like obviously knowing you're doing social media, but I think it's cool that you are like trying or like taking some sort of initiative, even if you decide fully that you have no interest in doing that at all. Like I think that is cool, and that's also a cool thing about Fun on Weekdays because it's so easy to get into your routine and not. Like, for me, a lot of it is, like, I wanna, like, do new hobbies, like, last week or not last week. I'm like, last week, last year,
That's how quick it turns for me, honestly.
No, honestly. I actually posted this on my Instagram stories today. I will find something, hyperfixate on it for 3 months, and then one day I wake up and it's just not on my mind, and it doesn't return to my mind for, like, 6 months until I wake up this morning. Like, for example, just, like, music, it was Tate McRae. I woke up at 6 AM, I'm like,
love Tate.
haven't heard her in, like, 6 months. Gotta put that on. Like, I'm so like that. But with hobbies, I was like, I need more hobbies and other things because I keep like, I find hobbies and then I somehow like make it work, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to ride horses. I can't really do much with that, you know, when I actually did it. But it's like freeing as you get older because it feels like you have to just like work in sleep almost, you know? And so I think it's cool to like explore different interests.
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to mention too, like what we do, we come from a privileged place of being able to have the freedom to explore those hobbies. And I try to recognize that and acknowledge it outwardly as much as I possibly can because I understand there's a lot of people that they don't have the freedom. Like they have to work their job every single day. They don't have that extra time. They're working 2 to 3 jobs just to get by.
Or
And
they also
so
have kids and
yeah, and just other responsibilities or they're taking care of a family member. There's just all these different things going on in other people's lives that I do understand that myself as someone who works in social media and people see I just post online all day and then now I have this freedom to just go and try any job and if I don't like it I can just quit it. That is the part that I understand could be so frustrating. And so I've kind of reeled that back in and I've reframed it in my mind, I guess, and just recognized like how fortunate I am to be in this position. And I never want it to come across like, oh, you can do this, And anyone, I do want to say like anyone can, but that's not always the case because not everyone is in like the position to be able to do that. So I am like very fortunate and grateful that social media and the internet has brought me the opportunity to do that. And so I guess me sharing that journey is me showing gratitude that like I'm able to
yeah.
do this because you guys have supported me and allowed me the freedom to be able to. So
And it's like, I mean, even just the like broad statements of like anyone can do this. It's like
mhm.
I got technically anyone can do anything, but everyone has a different starting point, and
Yeah.
that's where like privilege comes in.
Everyone
So
has a
I
different
understand that.
advantage or
Yes.
disadvantage, and to not recognize mine would be to be just like so oblivious to why I've had success. So I do want to mention that
Yeah.
for sure. But I mean, when I started posting about it, I think the annoyance for myself is that just like you, I get hyper fixated on something where I'm like, "Ooh, I wanna be, I wanna do bridal makeup." And I'll get really into it, and then a couple weeks will pass, and I'll be like, "I don't know if I'm that good at it." And I get annoyed of myself because it's like I can't see anything through, and then I almost feel like a failure almost in a sense, but I need to stop thinking of it that way and thinking of it as you're so lucky that you went and you tried and you found out that it's not for you because imagine just never trying and always just thinking about it. So, and when I've been posting about it, so many people have related to that idea of it's like you have a million different paths that you could take in life and how are you ever supposed to choose? So,
Mhm.
the only way that you can explore those in my opinion is by doing that outside of work because work is what allows you the money and the structure to be able to pay to explore those other things. And so if you don't have fun on weekdays after work every day, or you are making the most of your days to put it into those things that you're passionate about, you'll never be able to explore. So that's my TED Talk.
What is your personality type? Like, do you know your Enneagram number?
People ask me all the time and they always think that I'm a 7.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I don't know. I haven't taken it in years, but I would say 85% sure I'm a 7.
I think that sevens, like the issue you were bringing up, where you're like, it's annoying, and I get frustrated with myself because I
Yeah.
want to try. I think that's like an actual. The way you said that, I was
Really?
like, I'm pretty sure that's a 7 on the Enneagram.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
need to
think.
do that after here and
Yeah,
report
and
back to
text it
you.
to me. Yeah. No, I think it's also cool, and change is difficult in especially in your 20s. Like I talk so much about navigating your 20s on this show,
Mhm.
and it's very hard because I feel like there's a lot of people and who are just lost and confused and not feeling fulfilled in their jobs and not knowing if they should make the change or if they
Mhm.
should stick with it and it'll get better. When you went from feeling, I feel like you felt worse in the past and you've gotten to a better place than you were,
Mhm.
what were some like actual, like tangible things you did to start to feel better and also to get more clarity?
Yeah, so backstory. So I moved to Austin in 2020, and the day that I moved here was the day and by the way, I was working for TikTok corporate. I had an advertising role. It was called a brand development manager. And the first day that I moved here, there was that statement that Trump came out with that TikTok was being banned in the US. And I remember getting texts from friends from college being like, "Is this true? Like, what's going to happen with your job?" And so I'm like, "What the fuck?" Also, the same day that the city of Austin got shut down completely from COVID. So I'm
So it
like,
was like literally
"Oh
the
my gosh,
perfect scenario.
perfect scenario
Yeah,
for work from home."
couldn't have asked for a better first day, like for a move. Yes.
Yeah, so a week later, I start my job, and when I first moved, they said we were gonna be working in the office. I thought, "So cool, be able to meet all these new people," and at the time, I really didn't know anyone. I knew one mutual guy, but it's different. A guy friend is so much different
Yeah.
than a girlfriend. Like, just yeah, I mean, there's no comparison at all, and yeah, I don't know. So anyways, I was working from home. I was working this job at TikTok, and for the first couple of months, I remember calling my mom and being like, "I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at it, and I don't want to spend all of my time outside of work researching how I can be better because I just don't care if I'm better. All I care about is just like doing the job that I'm asked for. And so throughout the year, I was able to like pick it up and stuff, and it became less of a stress. And so then I just started looking at it as like more routine. And then I was eventually able to start doing more creative things once I got the hang of that. And when I look back at my time there, I really didn't hate it. And I cannot say anything bad about it. It just, I knew it wasn't like a long term thing for me. And at least that role specifically. I thought that working at TikTok could for sure be a long-term thing, but I would need to switch to the marketing department or something that was more creative, hands-on, or even events actually. And so I had a conversation about going into my first year, your year review about potentially switching departments, and there was just no opportunity available for me. And at the time, I had already been kind of thinking about, okay, do I want to like leave here? If do I want to stay in the same role for another year? And it was around that time that I had already been looking at other jobs and stuff. And I just kind of thought to myself, I was talking to my managers, they're like, what if you just took a break and you just do social media full time? And then if you don't want to do that full time, you can find another job. But in the interim, if this is like sucking and draining you, then I mean, I'm very fortunate I had that to kind of fall back on. So in those few months that I was working at TikTok before I started Fun on Weekdays, something in me just kind of switched where things were starting to open up again. It was starting to be the spring, so Austin weather is beautiful. And I looked at my 9 to 5 in a way where it was like, I, whoever's in charge of me right now, they're turning their computer off at 5. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. No one's going to talk to me after 5. And I was working from home, so I needed to get out of my house. And so then every day I would just go and do something different. It doesn't even matter if it was like going to the grocery store and making dinner that night, or going to a movie with a friend, or going to a happy hour, going to a concert or a comedy show. It was just the act of getting out really separated my work from my actual life. And I feel as though that time was when I started figuring out who I was. And in those Fun on Weekdays moments was when I started developing like better friendships and a better relationship with myself. And it was in that moment where I felt a lot more confident in myself that I felt okay to quit that job and try to pursue social media. But it's interesting because like once I quit that job, it's interesting how people champion you getting this corporate job, but when you get a new job and it's working for yourself, people don't champion it the same way because it's not as relatable. I understand that. You're like living a different lifestyle, a different routine, different schedule. And so I struggled then again, kind of going through that phase of trying to figure it out. And this past year, just recently in the past couple months, I've finally got my routine down and feeling good in what I'm doing right now. Finally, like expanded my team and stuff. But it was setting those work hours aside to really find out who I was, because for so much of my life, I have basically identified myself by my job or my internship or my waitressing job or, my campus rep thing that I did in college. Like everything that I have been has always been my job. And now when my job is being myself, it's like, what the fuck? Who am I? I don't even know what my personal brand is. And so, yeah, I just really leaned into like having Fun on Weekdays to figure that out. And that's when Fun on Weekdays podcast was started. And then I started doing the events and just kind of growing from there.
I love what you said about that's how you figured out who you were.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say I'm 25 now, in my earlier 20s. I'm like, wow, I'm so old, guys. But I think more in college, for some reason, I had this idea of like to find out who you were, you have to be like sitting at home by yourself with a journal or something like that. And
A lot of people can find themselves that way, but I think
I wasn't one.
Yeah, if you're a more social person
Yeah.
and you love, doing things with other people, I think surrounding yourself with the right people is the best way that you can. And then also like knowing that you don't always have to surround yourself with people either. Like you should have fun being alone. And I think honestly in those Fun on Weekdays moments was when I felt like I was having fun alone. I remember there was one day specifically that I packed this is funny. I packed a salad and I brought something with me to Mount Bunnell in Austin, and I went and I watched the sunset alone, and I had headphones in and I'm sitting there on the corner and I'm like, this is so fun. I had a great time doing this tonight. And then I did it again, like the following week, and I went to a different place, this park called something over by Lake Travis. But it was in those moments where I started having fun doing things alone. I didn't rely on other people. And that's when I started finding myself more and figuring out who I am.
Yes.
And then I lost that again this past year because life changed, my interests changed, some of my friends changed, the things that I found fun changed. And so I realized that it's just this continuous cycle. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 35 or 50. Whatever you're doing and you're enjoying in life is going to change in the next year. So as soon as you're comfortable, it's just going to evolve.
And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to like know what we want and know who we are.
Mhm.
And I had this big crisis when I was 23, and God forbid I didn't know anything. Shocking. But for whatever reason at 23, I was like, I need to know everything. And I started working young too.
Mhm.
So I think that I don't know, for some reason I think it is like it was added pressure. I don't know what it was exactly. But I put so much pressure on myself to like figure it all out, and I was doing it wrong because I am very outgoing. I'm very like social, but I need time alone too.
Mhm.
So I was taking that a little bit more extreme and thinking like, oh, I need to rest. And I was thinking rest, like I need to like lay at home, spend time alone, whatever. And as I
Mhm.
got older, I realized that like rest for me is doing things that like refuel me. So
Mhm.
like going to a workout class, hanging out with my friends, like literally going to the bars with my friends can sometimes, not always, but like sometimes be that. So when I moved back to Dallas and I was back in like a different social setting and circle, and my life just changed a lot, and I started going out and doing things, and I felt so much better. Even if I was doing them alone or not alone, like I just felt so much better. But I was like literally locking myself in a house thinking, this is how I'm gonna figure out who I am and what I want. And I'm gonna set goals, and like it just wasn't healthy for me. I'm a very extreme person.
Mhm.
So it just like wasn't the healthiest thing for me. I also started this challenge and I didn't finish it. But it's really good, okay? It's this book called The Artist's Way.
Okay.
It's by Julia Cameron. So have you ever heard of Morning Pages?
No, but you're a big book girl.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
books. Well, this one isn't like a fiction book. It's like a little bit different.
Okay.
Morning Pages is also like a concept. Basically, you wake up in the morning, you write 3 pages straight, pen to paper. You don't take your pen off. So you could literally be like, I have nothing to write, but it helps get everything out of your brain.
Okay.
It's very helpful for anxiety. Anyways, Julia Cameron has this book called The Artist's Way. And it is a 12-week challenge. And you read a chapter per week. You do morning pages every single day. And
Okay.
then once a week, you take yourself on a solo date. You honestly would really like it.
Yeah. I'm like,
No,
what's
it's
it
great.
called?
I will send it to you. It's so amazing. But I felt very, very lost. Like, I don't know. My time is so off. Like a year ago, in the past year and a half.
Mhm.
And I did that and I was like, I have no idea who I am. I don't even know what I want to do. Who am I? Like, just, quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
And I did that for like a month and everything just was clear to me, but a lot of it was through writing. So I think it's like figuring out too, like how you almost best hear your own voice.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I tried to do a 5-minute journal thing,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say I don't know. I don't know if I'm a writer, but then again, there was a time like last year actually when this is funny. When I decided that I was in love with Connor, I was like so flooded with emotions. I didn't know how to handle it and I didn't tell him yet. And so
Aw.
I was like, I really don't know how to express how I'm feeling right now. So I would always go to this park in Austin. It's on Cesar Chavez. And it has these like old rickety park lights and just one long picnic bench. And I would go there and I would write in this journal like all the time about how I was feeling and stuff. And actually recently I gave those pages to Connor and we
Aw.
went back to that park one night and we actually like wrote each other love letters and read them out loud to each other. It was really sweet. But
I'm gonna cry.
it
Like that's so cute.
was really cute. And I always said, I made like a TikTok once and I said, when I have a boyfriend, I'm going to come to this park with my boyfriend. And so,
Wait,
yeah.
I think I saw that. That
Yeah.
was really cute. And it was dark and like your dog was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a way that in that time I felt like I was kind of in touch with my own emotions and how I was feeling productive and I felt good with myself. Recently, I have been trying to make a better morning routine and this has helped me immensely feel less lost because I think feeling lost in the overall idea of life, if you break it down day by day, if you feel lost each day, like if you can just find a little bit of direction, a little bit of routine. I always used to hate routines, but now I think that it's like so good for you to know exactly what to expect each day and then you can switch things up as you feel. But just started waking up earlier and I don't scroll on my phone early in the morning. Connor and I make the bed together. We go and take Quincy on a walk. We come back. I'll eat something. I'll take my daily vitamins. And then I will go and work out or I'll shower in the morning and go and do my day. And then I've started actually like letting go of work like at 6 or 7. Sometimes it goes a little bit later depending on when I start. And then we'll actually go and do something that night. So planning those days ahead, having a routine for me is how I've been feeling less lost lately. But yeah, again, for you, it's writing. And for someone else, it might be doing yoga or finding your spirituality. Or for someone else, it might be going on long walks. Like everyone can find it in their own way. And so for me, I guess fun on weekdays is about you exploring what fun means to you. Because when I
Mhm.
did first start it, I'm not going to lie, I was at a different point in my life where I thought if you don't go out on this happy hour, then like you're boring. You know, waking up tomorrow hungover shouldn't be a reason why you can't go. But I think now, as I've grown a little bit through it, I've just recognized that fun for me is sometimes not doing that. And other times it's so fun. So, yeah. And I think finding yourself is through those moments based on how your body, reacts to it, I
Yeah.
guess.
I'm a huge routine person. I'm like, take a shot every time I say I have anxiety on this podcast, but it helps me so much with anxiety. And if I'm off my routine, I'm just like, I don't know if I like myself, you know? I'm just like so I feel like I am like running to catch up with life and life
Mhm.
is like punching me, you know? Like I feel like you can't it's like you have control of your day and I
Mhm.
guess a lot of anxiety is like feeling like you don't have control. But morning routines really helped me as well. Like I actually
Yeah.
die for a morning routine.
I've really, really been looking forward to it, and it's made my weekday morning something that I look forward to now instead of dreading it. Because typically, I mean, if you would have asked me a couple months ago, a lot of people are always like, "What's your daily routine?" And I would say, "I have no idea. Every single day is different." And I hated that that was my answer. And now I can say, this, and this is how I start every single day. And if I have that, then I have a little bit of confidence in where my day is going to go versus waking up every day, not knowing what time I'm going to get out of bed, not knowing if I'm going to go to a class or not knowing what's going to be on my schedule that day. And I think now I recently hired someone as well. So having the responsibility of someone else's well being and like life and literally their responsibilities, that has also helped me as well because no direction is really easy to find yourself feeling lost and making excuses for yourself too. So having someone to hold yourself accountable other than just yourself is very helpful.
I think like a routine almost gives you like a false, no, I don't want to say false sense, but it gives you a little bit more purpose too
Mhm.
because you wake up and every single day you are like, you know, you have tasks to accomplish.
Yeah.
My favorite quote is by Ed Milet, and I say it all the time, but it's confidence is built by making promises to yourself and keeping them.
That's so funny. Courtney Shields shared that quote on my podcast a couple months ago,
It's
and
so
I
good.
I literally stick to that.
Yes. And it's like the way that you make promises to yourself and keep them. Cause my dad, like, picture Ed Milet, and, like, that's very similar to my dad personality-wise, like, they just like, I listen to Ed Milet even when he's crying, and I'm like, "That's literally my dad." But I grew up with the dad who was very, like, again, anxiety, like, taught me so much about routine because he has anxiety and was like, "This is, like" it started as a way to, like, "This helps you if you do
Mhm.
this." So I was like, "Okay, this is what I do," and I was, like, that kid who I would wake up earlier than my parents for school, like, a very just, like, need everything done and, like, routines. So, I always did that, and I'm like, I did have this weird and I always said, I'm like, I don't know if it's because I had a dad who really believed in me,
Mhm.
or it's probably both and, or because I, like, always had, like, routines. I have this, like
Growing up.
yeah, like, this naive confidence, and I now that I've heard that quote since, I'm like, that is how I had the confidence because you're making a small promise to yourself every single day and doing it, and it's so easy
Mhm.
to build well, I get it's easier said than done, but when you're building it in, like, little micro moments, I think
Yes.
it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, totally, and I started small too because 'cause I'm just not a morning
Yeah.
person at all. Like, Connor would typically wake up and he would go to his workout class, he'd come home, and I'm still sleeping at this point. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, I should really start my day." And now it's like we start the day together, so we're already automatically, like, spending time together, and then I now know that I'm gonna wake up at a certain time, I'm gonna get my day started. I don't remember what I was just saying there.
Morning
I
routine
forget.
and
Oh,
confidence.
right, right, right. And so I finally started doing that every day. So I'm like, okay, I'm waking up before 8 every single day. I'm making my bed every single day. And then every single day I start to add on like a new task. So whether it's taking my probiotic every single day or going on a walk every single day, all of these things like they start adding up and then slowly over time I've built like a pretty good routine and it's only been like 11 days so far.
Yeah.
So I think as I continue to get more confident in the promises that I've been keeping to myself, you can also add more positive changes into your life. That's what I've been trying to do. Shelby Sacco is such an inspiration to me. She's so good about teaching habits. And I think these morning routine type things really lead back to habits. And she teaches that on her podcast. So, like, if you ever are feeling, a little bit lost, you don't know what type of advice, she's really great.
My friend Macy has brought her up to me like 3 times this week.
Yeah.
And then I meant to say that when we were at lunch, we were just talking about so many different things. And I was like, we were talking about habits. And she's like, no, look, we started working out together. Suddenly she's doing like 6 a.m. workouts. I'm like, I had to beg you to go to 1 class a week with me. And suddenly like she's there earlier than I am. But it really does help with building confidence. And I think the thing that's helped me too is, again, like what I touched on earlier, like I feel like you never really know and you've never really figured it out. And you said it like, I figured it out then and then it changed. And then you figured it out then and then it changed. And so as someone who, again, I like control of my day, I like control of like myself, not other people, because it's like my career almost.
Mhm.
It was helpful and I'm really bad at this. I like have no self-compassion, not none, but like I would say like 10%.
It's harder to give it to yourself than it is to people.
Yes. I have like I have so much grace for my friends. Like they could do the worst thing ever and I'd be like, listen, we're gonna be fine. But for myself, I'm just very hard on myself.
Mhm.
So like almost I try to like, I don't know, it's like an out of body experience, weirdly. It's like I am myself, but I like have to separate like me from me,
Mhm.
or like my anxiety from me or whatever it is. Like, when you have like, or like you're spiraling and you have intrusive thought, and it's not really intrusive thoughts, but you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Negative self-talk. And I try to like separate it and like talk to myself almost as like another person.
Yeah.
And like practice like self-talk. And that's helped me like, one, with clarity, but also not spiraling and feeling like I have to have every single thing figured out. And then
Yeah.
appreciating the fact that like I'm gonna be learning forever. So like,
Mhm. And I think that's part of the reason why I felt comfortable sharing some of those thoughts recently is because whenever I do talk about that, so many people, there are far, far, far more people that really appreciate the honesty, because I think it's really easy to look at anyone online and think, "Oh, they have their life figured out." I mean, I look at people from high school and college and be like, "They're doing so well. They are like crushing it." And you never really, really know. And so I think part of my, not obligation, but part of what I need to give to people that support me is just that honesty. Like that is one thing that I owe people that follow me, is just honesty. And so whatever I'm struggling with at that time, I felt more and more comfortable sharing it because people have supported it. And there's far few people that are annoyed of it, and more people that find it helpful to know that they're just not alone. So, yeah.
I recorded a podcast episode. I was going through, my 23-year-old life crisis. God forbid, I didn't know what I was doing. And I had this friend, Jessa, who I would always go to for advice. I still go to her for advice, or like text her and like whatever. But she was who really helped me during that time. And I had her on the podcast, and it was like a navigating your 20s episode. And I was like, I don't even know if people are going to care about this. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like my problems are just so stupid. Like, not all of my problems are the ones that I was discussing more. I was like, I just don't think that like people, whatever. And it changed the podcast. Like we went
Mhm.
into navigating your 20s because everyone feels this way, especially in this decade of your life, but no one's really talking about it. And I feel like you're a little bit more isolated, but the second someone opens up, it's like everyone opens up and they're like, oh my God, I have no idea. Or it's older people who give like better wisdom and they're
Yeah.
like, literally no one knows what they're doing, which I
Mhm.
also try to remember.
Yeah, I think luckily social media now, I mean, personally for me, you've been on social media far longer than I have, but 2020 was when I really started doing anything on social media other than just posting my like prom pictures,
Yeah.
And so I think that so many people feeling lost and isolated during quarantine allowed people to be more vulnerable on the internet, and it's allowed people to like build their platform around that vulnerability. And so I think it's opened a lot of really great conversations actually that have helped people, and it's not this like taboo thing to talk about, you know?
I completely agree. I also think I don't want to say like vulnerability is a trend because I hate to say that, but I don't mean it that way. But like over the past like 9 years of being on the internet, like there are waves, and we were talking about it before, just like as like having a career on the internet. It's like there's gonna be years
Yeah.
where your numbers skyrocket. There's gonna be years where like your actual brand is built and it's a lot stronger. Like everything comes and goes. And I think about the first like 5 years on YouTube, and there was a time, you aren't gonna know this, but it was like literally the worst time of my life. where all of the videos were like really overly produced and like saturated. And like, I will show you.
I do know because I watched some of them last night.
Oh my God. It was so bad. And Danielle literally. I don't know. I just remembered this. We were finally in our like YouTube group chat. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is because that's what was doing well on YouTube. Like,
yeah, but it wasn't you.
No, exactly. But we tried it for like 6 months to a year. And I'm like most of my friends, besides Brooke's the only one who was like, I'm literally not doing that. And that's just her personality. But Danielle literally posted a video, it being like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, it was that dramatic because that
was an apology.
Yes, no, literally. It was like, that was how the internet was so different in that time. And in order to do well and grow your channel, that is what you had to do. Whereas now I feel like there's so many different avenues and so many different aspects, and people actually really respond a lot better to people being open and authentic. Yeah. And I do think a lot of it is 2020.
I think that we've seen a lot of people too that have built platforms based on being honest and like oversharing their life, that I don't know if you feel this way, but it's almost like I've gotten to a point where I don't know how much more I can overshare. And it's like, I don't know how much more I can extend of myself. But then in my mind, it's almost like if I don't share all of these personal details, then will people still feel connected to me? Will they still feel like I'm relatable and honest and vulnerable? But I think that is kind of the wave that we're in right now, is that this storytelling trend, which I don't really think it's a trend. I think it'll always be around. But this storytelling version of like personal experiences now is how a lot of people are succeeding. And so you look at your life and now I wouldn't say exploiting, all of your personal business, but
it can feel like
that. Feel like that for sure. And I think, a couple years from now, that's also probably going to change into something else too. And who knows what that'll be. Probably like freaking holographs. I mean, we probably won't even have phones anymore. Yeah. Wait, speaking of, have you used that Ask AI thingy?
No.
What?
Wait, what are you talking about?
Okay, so there's this program. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, like that made the AI pictures.
No. Oh, I didn't do that, by the way.
Me neither.
No, I was too scared. I'm
also too lazy. Like,
yeah. I think it costs money too. I think it was like $5.
I wouldn't have pulled my card after that. Like, yeah.
I know. But no, there's this website, and I don't know what it's called, but you can ask it literally anything. Last night, Connor was typing in, make me a face wash ingredient list that is all clean, vegan, cruelty-free, and will not clog your pores. And it types back in half a second and gives you everything. It tells you how to make it. It's basically like the computer. It's a robot.
Like they're taking our jobs. Not that we will be giving those answers, but...
Yeah, no, but I mean, so what it can do basically, and this is why it's going to change the world. I've seen so many videos about this, and I really didn't realize how scary this is going to be because our life is going to change. But anyways, you can text it and say, my landlord is asking for my security deposit back, but I don't have any damages, whatever. Write me a letter to my landlord. And it will literally write you a letter. So it's like, it's helping you save money and time. It's just doing it for you. And so when I think about social media in the next coming years, I think a lot of what people are posting right now is going to be taken over by stuff like this. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting.
When I was a kid, I thought in 2020 we were going to have flying cars. And we don't have that yet, but we do have JSX Airport, which is pretty close.
That is true. Guys, before I get back into this, I was telling Jenna this story. I was on JSX, which is like, how would you describe it? It's like a smaller plane.
It's a charter plane.
It's a charter plane.
But it's not, it's really private. Not that cheaper. I mean, it's not that much more expensive than American or Spirit or Southwest. One day I had to go to Dallas just for the day and fly back same day. And it was literally cheaper than Southwest.
Yes.
It's free bags. You can bring your dogs. You get free food and drinks. And the security is like you just walk through one of those things and you bring your bags onto the plane. It's so freaking nice.
It was the best experience of my life. So I'm there at like 7 a.m. and I'm a brand new bitch at this point, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I am never
looking around. You're like taking pictures.
No, I'm like opening my bag up and there's like an American Airlines bag tag and I'm like, hide that shit. Like I don't go there. Like I'm one of them, And I'm there. I'm like I'm really close to the like front of the plane. And I'm just like, it's a 45-minute flight, having a great time. And I'm like, wow, this went really, really well. And I get up. The stewardess is like, all right, ready to like unload, whatever. I'm the first one who's sitting there. I get up and I like stand up instead of like stand out and I hit my head.
Oh yeah.
So hard. It was humiliating. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? They can help you in there. I'm like, I'm fine. It's okay. So basically I'm going back to American Airlines. Like I am so humiliated. I can't even go to the plane. It was so embarrassing. So that's just me.
I feel like things being embarrassing though is
If you choose to be
almost not
embarrassing.
real. Yeah, it's almost not real. But then again, I say that and like I've definitely been embarrassed so many times in my life.
When I'm
But
embarrassed, I'm like fake embarrassed because it's like, oh my God, that was so embarrassing. But
but
I,
you only think it's embarrassing because you think other people think it's embarrassing. But if they don't think,
yeah,
and reality is no one really gives a shit. So is it really embarrassing if no one else cares?
there's like maybe
But
2 moments in my life that I can think of where I was like genuinely embarrassed. Like
yeah,
that, I more so think it's like when I'm like, oh my God, it was embarrassing. It's more like I laugh at myself.
yeah.
But anyways, back to like the vulnerability era on.
Yeah, really back in. That
I'm
was
like,
good.
anyways, we do like JSS over here. Back to the vulnerability, like I guess era or like wave on the internet where we've been able to be more open. I think about this all the time because at what cost? You are giving away so much of yourself. And while
Mhm.
I'm someone who really values being vulnerable and I'm pretty much an open book. Like there's certain things. I really started thinking this because I had like a lot of tragedy happening in my family in like 2019.
Mhm.
And that was when I found that I was like closing up more. And then I also like left an organization of people that we were talking about earlier that like
Yeah.
I'm more like I'm not involved in it. And it's like,
There's certain details that don't need to be shared and
yeah.
they're better kept to yourself.
Yes, but then I felt like I was disconnected to my audience because I wasn't
Yeah.
telling them what was going on, but also it wasn't healthy for me at that point in these specific scenarios to like verbally process it online.
Yeah.
There's been times where I've talked about certain things, but I wait until I like go to therapy and then, like but also there's other things that are I do think talking to people is helpful and I do think being open can be healing, but I also I'm like I don't want to get to the point where like I rely so much about giving everything away in my life because
Mhm.
there's gonna come a time like I bet when I'm like with someone I'll be more private. I
Yeah.
don't think I'm gonna share much of my family. Like there's like certain things where I'm like getting into the next like decade of my life where I'm more like I don't know how and who knows maybe I will be so open but I don't know and so it scares me.
Yeah. No, that brings up a really good point. Actually, this was one of the things that I shared when I was talking about feeling lost and just not knowing who I was I said that I've shared so much of my life that I didn't really feel like I had a life for myself anymore. Like the private parts of my life, I didn't really know anymore. And on my podcast, I do have a tendency to just when I don't know what to talk about, it's like, let me just share the deepest, darkest secrets that I have. Let me just overshare.
Yes.
And I actually saw something recently that oversharing is a response to being afraid of rejection. So if you just share all of the deepest parts of yourselves up front, then it's eliminating you from someone judging you down the line or something along those lines. I'm like, wow, that is so true. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
do because I have always been the kind of person that it really tears me down if I know someone doesn't like me, and I've always really valued other people's opinions of myself. And I think going into this next year, one of my goals is to just care about my own opinion of myself versus others, or at least to care about my own opinion more. And so, yeah, I mean, creating those routines and finding confidence in myself through those routines has been a way that I have started to like value myself more. But yeah, I mean, it's just a tricky thing, and I think it's always going in fluctuations, no matter how old you are. But
I love that you brought that up because that was actually the next question I
oh,
had.
good.
Okay, so you kind of already answered it. I was gonna ask, how do you
Mhm.
care more about your opinion of you versus other people's opinion? Because when you're on the internet, TikTok, honestly, as a platform, is just mean. Like the comments are crazy. I just feel like, I mean, podcast reviews are hell, don't get me wrong. But YouTube, people who watch you on YouTube have to go out of their way to watch you. So I feel like for the most part, they're at least nice on the platform.
Yeah.
TikTok, you're in all these random people, and like my comments on TikTok are so negative compared to other platforms.
Yeah.
So I know that you said you're working on it this year. Like, what are some ways that you're trying to like not overcome it? Like that sounds so cheesy,
No,
but
no,
like
no,
get
that's
better
good.
about it. Cause like asking for myself.
I think that last year I put way too much emphasis on the negative things and not enough focus on all of the amazing supportive people. And I think that was my biggest failure of last year was just focusing more of my energy on validating people on the internet that are like anonymous and they leave something that's like halfway kind of rude. And I think also I spent too much time like looking into comments. And the only reason I started building my platform to begin with was just by not taking anything too seriously and by like making fun out of even the things that seem negative. So now I've kind of started to try to look at these few negative comments here or there as like, how can I make a joke out of this versus
It's like the
how
bit.
can, yeah, instead of responding to it and being defensive. And that's, I mean, I struggle with that. Everybody, if you feel like your character is being questioned, then naturally like your response is going to be defensive, but I'm trying to be better at that and just taking more time to appreciate the people that are so kind and so loving and so caring and have been here from the very start, and that has, given me more better things to focus on for sure.
Something I've noticed about myself is there'll be months where negative comments or just like something negative someone says about me doesn't bother me at all. And then I just wake up one day and suddenly that cycle is up and
Yeah.
it's like really, it can get to me. But it's only when I'm in a more vulnerable emotional state, like going
Mhm.
through a breakup or like I had a lot of like loss in my family, like things like that are just like more negative. Even not the most negative thing, like a breakup is like, life experience.
Yeah.
But it would bother me more when I wasn't like fully myself and feeling good.
So that's actually a really good point, and I think you just hit the nail on the head of what I was trying to say is like last year, and I mean, even still now, when I was feeling super lost and super insecure, those comments was like the only thing I could focus on because it was validating how I already felt about myself. And so now I've gotten to a place where I'm like doing really well with myself. I feel like I have a better relationship with like my mind and my physical health too, and a better relationship with Connor. Like, I'm not gonna lie, we struggled like really fucking hard for the first year, like trying to live together, trying to navigate both of our like water boy and me trying to
Yeah.
figure out what I'm doing with my life, having a dog, like traveling so much. I mean, there's so many things going on. And if I wasn't happy with myself and how I looked and how I felt, those comments like really, really, really tore me down so much because they're already things I thought. And now, as I've been like getting better, Connor and I are in a better routine. We are like we've been so good now that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is like
Aw.
so great." And I'm so happy that we were able to work through it together. And not only that, but like myself, I think, I mean, like I said, creating these different routines and now holding myself accountable better and having more confidence, those negative comments don't hurt me the same way because I don't think about that anymore as much, at least. And I
Yeah.
can't say I don't think about it at all. I mean, there's still comments that hurt you for sure, but they don't hurt as bad when you feel better about yourself. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think a lot of it too, like you were saying earlier, is like being surrounded by a good group of people and having a life outside of work, which is something
Mhm.
I felt like I didn't have until I was 23, 24. Like so much of my life was consumed by like the one thing or where my work or school or whatever it was. But having a life outside of it, I think almost builds this like weird barrier where there's a nice
Mhm.
boundary. And it's like, well, do the people who actually know me well think that? No. And like, not that you should be obviously always going to other people's, but there's like constructive criticism, you know?
Right, right.
So it's like my friends don't think that and like they love me and they and it's like while yes, it is important to build confidence within yourself, like these people don't even know you anyway. So like why are you taking their opinion? Because you wouldn't even take like some random person on the street if they said something rude to you. You would be like, what an idiot, you
Yeah.
know? You're like loser.
I know. And I mean, also, if it's coming from an anonymous account, like I have to remind myself that this is someone that no one that I am ever friends with in my life, I
Yeah.
know for a fact would ever make an anonymous account and leave a negative comment somewhere. So odds that this person is someone I want to be friends with in real life is so, so, so low. So like if they're not even somebody that I would want in my life, then why am I trying so hard to please them and being defensive to them? Like they just don't even deserve that. So I've really been working on that for sure. I mean, it's a struggle, but
No,
I would
it's
say
hard.
like generally speaking, my community is so, so, so nice. Like I could not be more grateful. I sometimes look back at what happened this past year and it like makes me emotional because I'm so grateful. I don't know how like, I don't even have words sometimes. And
Mhm.
so I'm really trying to lean into that more and just focus way less on one or two people here or there.
It reminds me of the quote that I'm gonna butcher. There's never been a quote I've shared on this podcast besides the Am I Let one that I haven't butchered. But it's like whatever you water grows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
whatever you focus on gets bigger. And then also it's like what you're looking at. So it's the
Mhm.
classic, like obviously you get 100 positive comments and the one bothers you, and that can apply to anything in life. So it's just so important. Honestly, I just try to not even like read if I can,
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm blind. I can't even see
Yeah.
this.
I mean, I would say that, but then also it's like I want the people that have
No.
shown love and support to feel like seen and special.
No, I
and,
mean read negative, not read comments.
yeah. No, for sure. But sometimes it's just hard to not read them because they're just in your face.
It's in your
you
face.
know?
It's with the other comments. I think it's like there's other sites that there's things on, and like there's ways to avoid like the Reddits and the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I said this like 2 seconds ago, but it actually has helped me if I think about, like, I walk the Katy Trail in Dallas all the time,
Mhm.
and I just think about, like, if someone were to say what they just said on the internet, like, walking by me on the Katy Trail, I would think that they're like, "What?" And it wouldn't even bother me, you know? So if it's something that I almost, like, internalizing, I have to, like, do this visual mental exercise, and I'm like, "They're on the Katy Trail, and they're saying something mean, and everyone now thinks that, like, they're weird," you know?
Yeah. Although I will say, because we have the Ladybird Trail here, I wanna think that, but I also know that if somebody was walking by me and they said, "I don't think you're fucking funny. I hate your outfit. You need to change blah, 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 or I think you look better this way or that way," I would be so hurt. And I think
You
that,
wouldn't think that they were odd, though,
yeah,
for doing
no, I
that?
would for sure. I'd be
Okay.
like, "That was so bitchy. Like, what?"
Yeah.
But I would still be
It would
hurt.
okay.
Like, yeah, as much as I don't wanna say that I wouldn't value what they say, I do always. Like, even if I don't like someone, I do value what people say, and it just that's where I have a difficult time with, like, drawing the line, between what's worth listening to. Because a lot of times people do have constructive
Yeah.
criticism, and sometimes it's maybe not worded in a way that is very kind,
Yeah.
and so it comes across, but I think generally speaking, there is typically some type of message in what people are saying, and I think I've started doing more reflecting on that. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of like a never-ending cycle,
It is, yeah.
but there's obviously, like, so many more positive things. It's just I think a lot of it is just, like, building a life for yourself and on your own, and
Mhm.
that goes to dealing with any sort of hate, like, even if, like, your coworkers are being mean or your
Yeah.
friends or you're in college and are having a hard time, you know? Like, it's just you have to, like, find something to reframe, I think,
Mhm.
you know?
For sure.
Okay, this has been great. We've been recording for an hour already.
Oh my
I know, I
gosh.
just was like, "Oh, wow,
That was so fast.
so fast." Where can they find you?
Okay, so I have a couple. Jenna Palek is my Instagram and TikTok, and then Fun on Weekdays podcast. I'm on Spotify and Apple, and I have a huge community group on Facebook. So if you're moving to a new city or you're looking for advice, or literally it's like a huge catch-all. I have a networking page, I have a roommates page, I have a buy sell, I have pretty much everything. It's on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know by giving it a nice thumbs up and subscribe for more.